Welcome to the 2012 Inside the Cardinal Playbook, presented by the UPS Store, 5510 Northeast Antioch Road in North Kansas City. And it's my pleasure to be with the head coach of the Cardinals. And Coach, we're ready to roll. That time is here. I might add, I asked you before we got on the show, were you nervous? And you've been to more than one or two rodeos, so you're ready to roll.
A lot less nervous than probably I used to be. So this is fun. We can't wait to hit somebody else for a change. We've been beating up on ourselves for about 2-3 weeks now, and ready to get going.
You get tired of it.
Yeah, it's it's just like anything else. You got to do it, and you've got to create live situations as much as you can during practice. And unfortunately, during training camp, you see the same guys week in and week out, and those offensive guys get tired of looking at the defensive guys, and the defensive guys get tired of looking at the offensive guys, and the special teams guys get tired of looking at everybody. And, so we're definitely ready to move on to the next step and hopefully get into our first game here at the end of the week.
I saw Coach Majors, and he was down there, and I said, "You ready to rock?" He says, "I'm tired of practicing hitting each other," and that's a common goal for everybody.
You've been through a bunch of those battles, but it's part of the process. It's part of the process, and it's part of learning as a team and growing as a team, going through that and creating those game situations as much as you can in practice. And we feel like we've been able to do that fairly well during training camp.
Well, there's nothing like a game that kind of leads us into what we're talking about. I've had the opportunity to watch a school of mines out in Colorado play a lot. They played Northwest. They're pretty much a perennial school that's in the playoffs, as you know, Coach. So I know it's a big game for you, and you're starting off with a real tough opponent.
Yeah, they've been good for quite some time now. Coach Weigel actually was there when they when they revived that program. He and Bob Stitt, who's still the head coach there, I don't know how many years it's been now, maybe 10 years now, when they kind of went out there and got things rolling. And, they've been a playoff team about every other year since, and, they do some really good things. They're very good at what they do, have very mature, physical, intelligent players, and, they've got a bunch of athletes mixed into that group, and they can make it hard on you, and very, very well coached. I think Bob Stitt's one of the best offensive coaches in the country at any level, and he's got some notoriety. I know in the last year, his good friend at West Virginia, after their bowl game, big bowl win last year, mentioned him after the game and post game, and he does a great job. I can't say enough about him and his staff and what they've been able to do there and what they continue to do year in and year out.
Well, one thing we definitely didn't want to do, Cardinal fans, the first game of the year, give anything away that we're going to do. That's obvious. But they are huge up front. I was just in there with Sean Weigel, your special teams coach and assistant head coach, and we were going over some tape about kickoffs and the new rule and stuff, and maybe sometime we'll be able to talk about some of that stuff. But they're big up front. He went through the lineup. They are huge up front.
They are. You know what? They do a great job in recruiting, and most of those guys are, red-shirted kids in their redshirt senior year, and 6'7", and 6'6", and 6'5" up there in the high 200s to low 300-pound guys, and move. The surprising thing about guys that big for them is they move extremely well, and up front on the offensive line, and then defensive line, those guys are athletic and they move well. Our big thing is, this being the first game of the year, we haven't seen film on them from this year. What I will say is, watching last year's film, offensively, they return, I think, 9 out of 11 starters. The quarterback graduated and one of their big tackles graduated, but boy, they just keep reloading them, and it'll be a big challenge.
That's big, though, the quarterback. And you're just talking with your staff. I've got to, like I said, catch up with your assistants before I got to you today, and that's huge for a kid to open up in a Division II program like the Mines program at quarterback, and I think that could possibly play to your advantage. Well, at least we hope so.
We hope so, but the reality is he's been there a couple years now, and as good a coach as Coach Stitt and his staff has, the guys that they have there, he's been in the system for several years, and, waiting his turn to take the reins. And, we saw him late in the game last year against us, and he's a pretty good football player. He was the player of the year in Colorado his senior year.
Is he a double threat? Is he pass run guy?
He can run a little bit. We haven't seen him run a lot. He appears to be a fairly athletic kid, and he throws the ball well. Extremely intelligent, as most of the kids there are. You have to be to go to school there, similar to here.
You bet.
But we're a little bit looking at an unknown. We've only seen about a quarter of him playing and just trying to figure out some of the things they may do with him and how to combat that.
Yeah, that's the problem, don't you think, Coach? In the first game, you don't have the stuff that you will have the remainder of the year to look at, and really get your team ready to look at some different sets and some of that type of thing. But you're looking basically at a guy that's been there a long time. Don't you think offensively and defensively he'll run basically the same thing?
Yeah, you'd like to think so. They're extremely good at what they do, and you look at a team that returns 9 offensive starters, and they've been very successful. Why change a whole lot? Now they'll have some wrinkles. He spent some time in some different places, I know, in the offseason.
Well, you all do.
Yeah, we all do, and we're the same way. We'll have a few little wrinkles here and there, but no real wholesale changes. But they may push the pace at times. They may slow the pace at times. They'll have some different formation things, I'm sure, offensively. Defensively, they'll have a few wrinkles here, maybe in the blitz game or in coverage that, to show you a little bit different look maybe than a year ago. And that's what we all do. In the off season, we think we're geniuses and we go out and we find
mad
the
scientist.
Next best. Yeah, mad scientist. That's probably better.
You're all kind of weird.
Exactly. We're all weird, and you're right here with us. And you're trying to find the next best thing for that fits your team, and and how it fits in your team, and so we'll all have a few of those little wrinkles. Most programs, as they go along and they get established, there's not wholesale changes year in and year out, which is a good thing. And we feel like we're in a good place from that standpoint, as well as the fact that we've been in our schemes now for a couple years and feel good about what we do, and looking forward to having some guys that are 1 year older in the schemes and seeing where that takes us. Put a little more air in my helmet and have that little red mark on my forehead that shows it fits tight.
Chicks kind of dig that red mark.
It's a mark of courage or honor, right? Something like that.
This is corporate headquarters. As you can see, I have a unique business. How do I compete with the big boys? Got this fancy business address, a marketing department, distribution center, got a great team, even a cafeteria.
That's mine.
From packing and shipping to printing and mailbox services, come into the UPS store for everything a small business needs.
I love logistics.
My name is Jesse Limeculer, CEO of Belvoir Winery, 110 years in the making. We provide a unique experience in that it's a historic building. It's 110 years old. And we allow people to bring in their own caterers to have a nice formal sit-down meal or something that's social and very casual. We let them do basically whatever they want as far as their event goes. We have the fountain running and have the gazebo up for all the wedding days and special days out here. I'm Jesse Limeculer, the CEO of Belvoir Winery.
Foreclosure, repossession, garnishment. Costello and Farah can fight for you.
Are creditors threatening to take your property or your money? My office has helped thousands of people in the Kansas City area protect their assets through debt reorganization or bankruptcy protection. Call my office at 816-505-HELP and see if we can help you protect your assets and get you back on your feet.
The attorneys of Costello and Farah, lawyers who will fight for you. Call 816-505-HELP today.
Well, we got a little time left in this first session. I want to talk about a rule change, which is on the kickoffs. And, I'm going to let you talk about that. But I think it's important. I have to actually bone up before we come so I get all the – because the high school rules are so much – and I do high school games, and then the NCAA rules are so much different. But, Coach, why don't you go ahead and talk about the rule change?
The new kickoff rule it's really similar to the NFL rule from a year ago, where if you watched NFL games last year, they moved the kickoff from the 30-yard line to the 35. And, when the ball goes in the end zone in the NFL, they bring the touchback out just back to the 20 like usual. The college rule for this year, the same thing. The kickoff will move up to the 35. The rule for any player involved in the kickoff team and the kickoff coverage is you have to be within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. So where the ball is marked on the 35, you can't be behind the 30 essentially to get your takeoff. And that's a safety thing they've found over research over several years. And I haven't seen it. I'm not sure anybody's seen the research, but supposedly that's the research that says.
Well, concussions are big, huge.
Exactly, absolutely. And I've got my own philosophy on why more concussions have come about, and we've actually experienced a whole lot less during training camp than we ever have because we've addressed some of those things. But, we're going to follow the rules that are put out there by the NCAA, and this is the rule change. If it's a touchback now in college, since you're kicking out from the 35, essentially there should be more touchbacks. When it's a touchback in college, the ball will now come out instead of the 20-yard line out to the 25 on kickoffs. Other touchbacks that can happen during the game, like on a punt or on an interception in the end zone, any of those other situations, the ball will still come back out to the 20. So nothing's changed there.
Yeah, and I think that's important for all the Cardinal fans to know when they're watching the ball game or listening to the ball game how that's changed.
Right.
And it is a safety factor. I got Sean to laugh a little bit. I said, I probably wouldn't slobber out of the side of my mouth if I didn't have to return so many kickoffs and punt returns. So, but it is a safety factor, and like you were talking about, and I just saw some video, that 5-yard space where they have a run.
Right.
That'll kind of tone down the collision possibly as well.
Yeah, I mean the philosophy behind it is there's less speed and less momentum created early on in the snap, which moving the kickoff up 5 yards will actually maybe not slow the kickoff team down, but they wanted to take advantage away from the kickoff team since they moved it up and still give you opportunities for returns.
Anything else special here real quick before we get into
that's the real big one for this year. There's some really technical blocking below the waist things that honestly, I'm going to have to get officials to help me understand. And talking to some of them, they're still trying to sort through it all. And these things happen every year, and it's just part of the game and the evolution of the game that you're going to have adjustments to rules every year, and you've got to go on and go with them. The other big one is if a helmet comes off during the snap now, that player has to leave for a play, has to leave the game for a play. Different than before. You see guys' helmets coming off a lot now. Now, if your helmet comes off, you leave the field of play for the next play. You're out for a snap.
So it could be your quarterback even.
Could be a quarterback, could be a kicker.
So he has to come out if, let's say, he gets sacked.
Yep. As long as there's no penalty against that player that caused the helmet to come off, he's got to leave the field of play. Thus, the emphasis of properly fitted helmets, which I think has been the biggest cause for concussions.
Absolutely.
We're in the world of comfort. We all want things to be comfortable. Our easy chair at home and everything in our world is comfortable.
You bet.
And players now want their helmets to fit comfortable. You remember you had to pull the plastic apart and pull it off your head. Guys can do this right now and just take them on and off, and they shouldn't fit that tight. I tell our players, you remember the red mark on your forehead?
I still have a dent in my head. And that was from that.
Because your helmet fit tight. Yeah. And when your helmet is not fit properly, there's actually two blows. Right. When you go helmet to helmet or if something hits your helmet, there's the blow of that thing hitting your helmet, then your helmet hitting your head because there's a gap.
Yeah.
That's where this is my philosophy now, and I'm a philosopher sometimes, but this is where the concussions, I believe, happen. For improperly fitted helmets.
So you think that's a good rule?
I think it's a great rule because, what's a player want least? He wants, if you take his playing time, it's going to click in his head that, hey, maybe I ought to put a little more air in my helmet and have that little red mark on my forehead that shows it fits tight.
Chicks kind of dig that red mark.
It's a mark of courage or honor, right? Something like that.
Okay, we'll come back to our next session of Inside the Cardinal Playbook.
So, I'm my own man. I can work from home. I can make meetings, I can make deadlines, I can make proposals, I can remember birthdays, I can entertain clients, I can pay for lunch. Yeah, I can do it 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:15, I can do anything. Done, on it, yes, taken care of. 50 two-sided bound color presentations by tomorrow, I can do that. How do I do that? I love logistics.
Get ready for real of tropical deliciousness only at Golden Corral. It's our brand new Tropical Island Grill. This is like a tasty trip to the islands. We're talking real island cooking at its best. It's perfectly marinated grilled Key West chicken. It's breaded spicy Cozumel Island shrimp you have to taste to believe. It's grilled Fiji lemon pepper tilapia. It's fire grilled sizzling teriyaki sirloin and much more. It's all part of our endless dinner buffet, still for one amazingly low price, and it's only at Golden Corral. Help yourself to happiness.
Poor Boy Oil Company is and always has been locally owned and operated. We promise convenience and service with small town values. We want you to choose Poor Boy again and again, whether you're looking for a hot cup of coffee to help start your day, grabbing lunch at midday, picking up milk at the end of the day, or heading for a Cardinal game any day. We're here to help you get you on your way quickly. Most stores are open 24 hours, so we're here when you need us. Poor Boy Oil Company. Find us around the Northland, wherever the Cardinals fly.
Welcome back to our second session of Inside the Cardinal Playbook, presented by UPS Store, 5510 Northeast Antioch in North Kansas City. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the Cardinals, and I'm pumped. I think we'll start, even though I'm a defensive guy and so are you, we're going to show how we've grown as individuals.
Yes.
I want to start in offense, and particularly with your quarterback, because I think Shelton's going to be a great one.
You know what? He's come a long way in the last couple of years.
Sure.
You know, we started him as a redshirt freshman my first year here as the head coach, and you know, anytime you do that, there's a growth curve and all of those things. He's gone through all that, and you know, and fared very well through that. And we're really excited about, you know, what he brings to the table this year, not only with his ability physically and mentally, but you know, his experience at this point too. He's a returning two-year starter.
Really looks good physically too. I saw him when you had us up here.
Yeah, you know, he's 6'3", about 220, somewhere around there. And you guys know he moves pretty well and can do some things with his feet to extend the play. And you know, the biggest thing that I'm excited about that young man is his leadership and his competitiveness. He is a competitor now, and you know, if he can lead us in that way with that level of competitiveness, you know, we got a chance to do some good things. Now, without some other guys around him, we'll be real average. But what we feel good about offensively is that we returned 7 starters on offense for the first time in a long time.
But don't you feel like you've got a lot better depth than you've had since you've probably been here, even as an assistant
absolutely
coach?
You know, we've got young depth. It's always good to have depth, period. But our depth this year is young depth. We recruited, 7 or 8 offensive linemen, which and we have high hopes for that whole group. Now, reality is they're not all going to play this year, but we're really excited about that group of young men.
That's the nature of the position, because usually you got red shirt guys.
Absolutely.
Nebraska made a living for years doing that.
Oh, well,
everybody
they play those fourth-year juniors and fifth-year seniors and go out and beat a lot of people, and our depth is young right now, but you're exactly right. We have more depth than we've ever had up front on the offensive line, which is good, especially when you're returning older guys too, and you can keep that consistency. You know, it's the same thing though. You and I went through it too. In that 4th and 5th year of your career, you got an old body, and those things old bodies get beat up, more than young bodies, and
I understand about old bodies.
Those old bodies, we got to piece some of those guys together even now, early on in the season, to get them out there and get them functional every day. And Jeff Snow and our athletic training staff do a tremendous job of that. But we're not anything without those guys. You can have all of the thoroughbreds and great players you want behind them. If you're not good up front on the offensive line, it doesn't matter. And so we're excited about the guys we returned there and the guys we brought in there to add depth to that position. And those guys are competing right now, and it's fun to watch.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the skilled kids on offense. You talk about, and I really believe this, I think whether it's the NFL, college football, high school football, you can have a great quarterback, but you got to have some people around him that could do some things and make him look well. Not only your offensive line, but you got to have other skilled people. Why don't you talk about all the rest of the skill positions?
Yeah, at running back, we returned a couple guys back there that played a lot for us last year, in Glenn Whitney and Phil Ancar's healthy again and had a really good camp. He'll be a senior for us out of New Orleans. Andrew Edwards has been a guy that's been on the bus for us the last couple of years, have done some good things and at the tailback position. And then we've got some really good young backs that I really, really like. You're going to get a chance to see them here. If you haven't seen them in a scrimmage, you're going to get a chance to see at least one of them this weekend, maybe 2. We'll see. We haven't completely decided on our travel roster yet. Ideally, we'd like to redshirt a couple of them because we got 3 young ones in that freshman class that we like. And so we'll see which one of those we end up taking this weekend, and if they get in there or not. And there's a good chance you'll see at least one of them as we go into Saturday. At the fullback position, Glenn Whitney can actually do a little bit of everything.
Well, he's a good-looking specimen.
Yeah, he can play some fullback, he plays tailback, and he does some good things for us there.
He's a good-looking kid.
The other things at the fullback position, we've got a couple young ones we like there too that may have a chance to make the bus this weekend for the trip to Mines. And Patrick Heflin returns. He was a little bit beat up in camp. We're still waiting to see if he'll be cleared for this weekend. And there's a handful of other guys there that have done some good things, and we're looking for big things out of. At the wide receiver position, that's probably one of our positions of strength. We graduated a few guys there, but we played some really young ones last year too. John Molson returns.
Molson had a great year.
He's getting a lot of preseason accolades. I think somebody told me he's. They named 3 players to watch in our conference, and he was one of the 3. And
he can go up and get it.
He's good body control, and he's had the best camp he's ever had. So we're looking for big things out of him. Scott Buff has been there for us the last couple of years too, and he's doing some really good things. And then we've got a handful of young ones too that are coming along, and some of them played for us last year and contributed at a high level. And we're looking for one more year of growth out of those guys. So. Excited about that. The tight end position, Andrew Buff is back, and then we've got a couple, redshirt freshmen that we redshirted last year that'll be playing for us this year too. And then Sean's brother, Ryan Shelton, is in the mix there at tight end H as well. And so it'll be fun. I can't wait to Saturday to get out there and hook it up. Yeah. We'll see how we know how we are in practice right now, and I'm excited about some of the things we've done there. But you never know until you get to see somebody else and a different opponent. What you really have and how we will respond in those situations. We do some competition things in practice, don't get me wrong.
But it's still not the same.
Right, it's not the same.
When you kick it off against somebody else, your heartbeat goes to a different level, and all your juices go to a different level.
All of ours.
It's get-go time.
All of
What's my motto? Play to win. What's the key? Logistics. It takes planning. Everybody on the same page. Check this out. This is my playbook. Serious business. Right player, right place, right time. Did it at the UPS store. Bam! High five. Color, pictures, charts, graphics. Nice, huh? I love logistics.
It says in the book we should play as a team.
Professional color printing. Now at the UPS store.
See what a smile can do. At Hy-Vee, your health is what matters most.
That's why we offer hundreds of organic and heart-healthy foods.
Expertise in disease management and over 100 in-store dietitians. See what a smile. We'll customize a diet and exercise program for you and your family. We're your personal health team, here to keep you healthy and happy.
Well, our love, both of us, is defense. If you cut us open, that's really what we're about. And I think you've really done a really outstanding job since you've been here as defensive coordinator. With the talent you've had, I think you've been very competitive. I know you lost quite a few guys last year.
Yeah, we lost a bunch of starters. We're going to potentially start 7 guys on defense that are sophomores or younger. And
and that's a bunch in this league.
That's a lot of young guys out there. The nice thing about that, if you're going to see a silver lining there, is that's a pretty athletic group of young guys. And they should be. That's your goal as you move up a level of competition, that you recruit better athletes and guys that can do some different things. And we hope we've done that. It's getting those guys familiar and comfortable in our scheme again. And a lot of those guys, some of those guys played for us last year, and hopefully bring that experience back into it as we hook it up on Saturday. But, like you said, we're going to be young there, and, you never know how young guys are going to respond the first time they're thrown in the fire. So we'll find out on Saturday.
I think defensively, though, if you're going to be young, that might be the place to be, because, you teach them to get after it, go sick them and see what happens. And, if you're a football player, that's instilled in you.
Exactly.
And if you've got the type of athletic ability that, we've been talking about, and that you're going to have now in Division II in the league you're playing.
You're exactly right. And we talk to those guys a lot about, listen, hey, we're not going to yell at you for a fast mistake. Now, if it's a slow mistake, we're going to get after you a little bit because that's an effort thing. But if you're making mistakes, but you're making it full speed, we can fix that. And, we've been able to bring those guys together. Matt Trowbridge, who's our defensive coordinator now, he's done a great job with those guys and our other coaches during camp of getting those guys ready and getting them going. And especially as many young guys as we have, Trent Figg at the linebacker position, Larry Chapman on the D-line, Greg Valenzuela, who was our first year with us.
Well, those guys have done a great job.
They've done a really good job, and really excited about getting those guys out there on Saturday and seeing what they can do. Because I don't know myself. I watch them in practice do some really good things and fly around and be physical and all of those things and handle some adversity in practice. But as we all know, practice adversity is completely different than game adversity, because at the end of the day, practice really doesn't mean anything. Now, I don't want to underscore practice because it's important to everything you do. So it does mean something. But as far as wins and losses, nobody's keeping score. We do some competition things in practice, don't get me wrong.
But it's still not the same.
Right, it's not the same.
When you kick it off against somebody else, your heartbeat goes to a different level, and
Absolutely.
all your juices go to a different level.
All of ours.
It's get-go time.
All of ours, players, coaches alike.
It makes no difference unless you've been
your guys is when you're in the booth.
Absolutely.
And, it's just a different feel. It's a different adrenaline rush that it's hard to get.
If you don't, you shouldn't be there.
Absolutely
you need
right.
to be driving a bus or doing something or doing some gardening, but get out of there if you're not ready to rock.
You're absolutely right. And, we're hoping that, Saturday, all the things that we've seen from them in training camp and the adversity situations we put them in during training camp will, transfer into the game. The reality is there's no way of knowing that until we get there. We've got high hopes for this young group, but we'll have to see how it goes.
Well, we've got 1 minute left in this last segment, and our first 2 ball games is going to be a test. They're going to have to be man and get hair on their chest pretty quick because they're playing 2 really good programs. I know your second week we go up to play Western. And
is that who we play week 2?
I think it's
I'm
week 2.
trying to remember who we.
Well, no, that's my job.
Yeah,
your job is to coach
true.
him, and I'm to keep you straight on the
Yes,
schedule.
that's right. That's right.
Okay,
They'll tell me where to go and where the bus is leaving for, right?
Coach Partridge has been a good friend, and his dad was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I was athletic director Ruskin, and I saw him and his boy at the Royals game this year and talked to him at great lengths. And, I think that'll be 2 really great tests for you. And you're right, those kids will now be prepared when we get into the conference because you're just like when we played Pitt State. Right. I was all about you playing Pitt State. I'm all about you playing Missouri Western because you're never going to wear the ring unless you play the best because that's how you win.
You got to go play good teams. And that's my philosophy. And what allowed us in our schedule last year was we went and played, as we realize now, we played the best of the best. Mm-hmm. Because the team, Pittsburgh State went and won the national championship. And
we played them tough for about 2 quarters.
Our players are not afraid anymore of stepping on the field with anybody because they've seen the best of the best. And that's no cut to the teams we're playing because who knows, Colorado Mines, Missouri Western, Kentucky, whoever those teams are that are in our schedule this year, any one of them. It's a roll of the dice every year. Any team could go out and win the national championship. Now, some have a better chance than others, but, we'll all have to, people ask me all the time, Coach, how are you going to be this year? And I say, with a straight face, I'll tell you in December. Because, reality is I wish I could project it. If I could, I'd probably be doing something else. But, it'll be fun. We're excited.
Well, Coach, I'm ready to rock and roll. It's 2012. We're ready to go. That's the first show we'll have. We'll have many every Monday, which I thoroughly enjoy with Coach. Inside the Cardinal Playbook, also presented by the UPS Store, 5510 Northeast Antioch in North Kansas City. And we appreciate their support. So we'll see you next week after our first ball game.